All right, we are learning the Chumash. The Chumash, we're now learning the book of Numbers, and we're in Parshat Chukot, and we're talking about, well, we're just finishing actually, talking about the mitzvah, the commandment of the red cow. The red cow. That's what we're learning about in the morning in the Mimer from the Kuti Torah. But we're learning also in the Sikha that we learn afterwards, right? We're learning about the death of Miriam and of Aaron and how that affected the Jewish people, that the water that came out of the rock ceased when Miriam died, and how the clouds that surrounded and protected the Jewish people in the desert in the merit of Aaron, when Aaron passed away, that also that ceased as well. And then they came back in the merit of Moses. So today we're going to learn about the the passing away of Miriam and the subsequent ceasing of the water, and the tremendous tragedy that happened afterwards, that the Jewish people complained to Moses, understandably, about water. They didn't have any water, and Moses went and famously struck the rock. And because of that, there was Moses and Aaron were sentenced to death by God. Not pretty severe, but God is very, very demanding on his leaders. So Moses and Aaron, and then afterwards, we're going to see that Aaron passes away. So let's get into this. Here we have today, we have the let's learn just the very end part about the striking the rock. Striking the rock. I'm sorry, the end part about the paraduma. Sorry, the red cow. Okay, just one. Now, in a lot of Sidurim, what it has is that has all of Rashi's explanation. And when it gets right to the end of this whole chapter about the red cow, so it has over there a repetition of what Rashi wrote. Maybe it was from another sefer, a repetition that all the explanations of Rashi. But here, in this, it doesn't have it that way. It has it all of them together. So let's just look at Tet. Tet is very interesting. What does it say? So what do we say? That everybody that is involved in making this red cow mixture, and there's the one who kills the cow, slaughters the cow, and that burns it and mixes it, and etc. All those people are impure. And the one that sprinkles it is the only one that's not impure. He's not impure. So there's a lot of other things that we learn from this also. And that is that impurity, the whole idea of impurity, that somebody touches a dead body becomes impure. So let's look and see. V'asav ish tohar. Here's sentence number 9. We already talked about some of the other laws about how you have to burn it and etc. So it says a pure person has to gather these this dust together. Now it says a pure person. Where do you get this pure person from? So it says this in the Mishnah. It's very interesting. It says that women used to give birth to children on rocks. They would take a big rock that was elevated a certain place. I guess they'd prepare a place for her. She would give this, so the child for sure would never pass over a dead body. And it would never, because even if you pass over a grave that's way down deep, as you become impure. There's a ways to avoid that, but generally speaking, you become impure. So women would give birth to children on like a rock, a special place that was elevated from the ground to a certain degree that impurity wouldn't be able to, and these children would be the ones that would prepare this, mix up this the ashes of the paraduma of the red cow. They would mix it up. Interesting. So a pure person would mix up this ashes, and he would put it outside of the camp in a pure place, and this would be for the Jewish people for to keep. They would watch this and keep this for all the generations. Lamei Nida, that was called the water of Nida. Where did it get this name Nida? It was called Mei Chatat before. Now it's called Mei Nida Chatat. So he's going to say Nida. Well, we'll look at Rashi of this. Mei Nida Chatati. So let's see what this is. Rashi says, this cow is right, the purely red cow, totally red cow that never worked, that never took a burden. It will be slaughtered, richly slaughtered, and it has to be burned and reduced to ashes. This is all done outside of the camp. This is the only sacrifice. It's not really a sacrifice, it's just a process. This is the only thing that was done outside of the camp, except for the goat on Yom Kippur that was sent to Azazel. That was also strange. But this is even, in a way, it's even more strange, because at least the goat, you're sending it, it's taking like all the sins of the Jewish people, you're sending it away. So it's, so to speak, not holy. And this is holy. This is a sacrifice, and all sacrifices have to be made in the temple. And this is not made in the temple. This is made outside of the temple, and it's totally burned. So it says this is kept to be preserved. So we're outside of the camp. So Rashi says shlosh chalakim mitchaleket, that these ashes were actually divided into three groups. There were three like bowls or boxes, whatever, of ashes. One of them was put on this place called Har HaMishcha, outside of the Holy Temple. Achat, one, mitchalek lekal amishmarot. All of them was given for the sake of the Kohanim. If the Kohanim become impure, so they would sprinkle this. The Achad, and one, Natan Bechel. And one of them was put in this area, the outer level of the temple. The Zeh Shel Mishmarot, and the one that was said kept for all the generations, this was kept Chutz LaZorah, in the temple, right outside of the Azorah. So that's the first one that was the kept for prevention, for preservation. Litol mimenu b'nei ayarot v'kol atzorchem l'tayar. This was used for the general population. This was used for the general population, and we'll see that it was kept for all the generations. The one that was kept outside is the big Kohanim, the Kohanim Gedolim, the high priests. They would use that for other red cows, to make other cows, and they would sacrifice that, because you had to purify the Kohen that was preparing this whole business, right? We said the one that mixed it up, that would be this child that was kept on this rock, but the one that slaughtered it, they also had to be pure. So this would be used to sprinkle on them. But the one that was kept right like outside of the temple, this was Lemishmeret Migazeret HaKatab. This was just kept there. It was kept, it wasn't used. Like it says, Vayatala Adat Yisrael Lemishmeret. It should be just there preserved. What are you preserving all these three things for? Nida, for the waters of Nida. What's Nida? Nida means to spray, to sprinkle it. Kamo v'yado even b. Because it's like to throw. Nida comes from this language of yado, to stone someone, throw things. Liyadot et karnot agoyim, etc. Lashon zrika, it's a language of throwing. Nida means this is water which is thrown on the impure people. Chatos, what does it mean? Medida chatat. Chatat means to clean. Chatat is chitui. It cleans the person up. A person that is impure with death, so this cleans him. The fiel chatav, karo chatav chatat. Because of the laws that are there also, it is called chatat. In other words, the purpose of it is shehi kikadoshim. What's that? It's kadoshim la'asar b'hana, that this water is considered to be holy it means that you can't use it for any mundane purpose whatsoever. And it's kept up as a mishmeret. You have to keep it for all the generations. So what do you have to keep these ashes for all generations? It says, Kamo shepesha egel, just like the sin of the golden calf. And we said that this red heifer comes to bring forgiveness for the sin of the golden calf. The golden calf is young, it's a calf, and the heifer is already an older. It's already that. So it says the mother will come and clean up. Remember, learned that yesterday. The mother will come and clean up the filth caused by the child. So the child is the golden calf, and the sin that the Jews did with the golden calf, this is a sin which lasts for all generations. There is no punishment that comes on the Jewish people. It is not a remembrance of the golden calf. And there was, when the golden calf was, if you remember, God forbid, he wanted to wipe out all the Jewish people. So Moses convinced them not to do it. And he convinced them not to do it. Remember the 13 attributes of mercy. It was back there in the middle of the book of Exodus and Parshas Kitisa. So Moses so essentially God is always remembering, maybe I shouldn't have let these Jewish people go. So anytime the Jewish people make a sin, so it reminds God that, man, maybe I made a mistake, to listen to Moses and let the Jewish people. So it reminds God of the sin. Not only that, if there wouldn't be, if it been for the golden calf, there wouldn't be any death in the world. If the Jewish people wouldn't have sinned with the golden calf, as the world would have returned to its proper state, the way it was before Adam ate from the tree, there wouldn't be death. Everyone would feel alive every second. So people wouldn't feel old, and there would be no death. But nevertheless, there is. And so every time there's a sin, so God remembers the sin of the golden calf. So just as you remember the sin of the golden calf, so you have to keep also remembrance, the cure, the antidote to it, and that is the ashes of the red heifer. Just like the eagle, the golden calf, made everybody impure. The golden calf made everybody. Kach para, also the para, the red heifer, metamas kol, everybody that made it, that's the one who slaughtered it, everybody becomes impure except for the one who sprinkles it. Just like a person that is sprinkled on gets purified by the ashes. Shene'amar, like it says, v'yizar al penei. Yeah. Okay. Just like you become pure when the ashes are sprinkled on you. Shene'amar v'yizar al penei amayim. It says the same thing also by the golden calf. It says that Moses ground it up. Just like it says that Moses took the golden calf and ground it up and mixed it in water, made everybody drink, and all those that worship the golden calf died. As the same thing also here, you take the heifer and you burn it, and anyone who drinks from it becomes pure. So it deals with the sin of the golden calf. Okay, that's what I wanted everybody to read, and most of the others we finished. Let's just go to the story of Miriam. Vayavo bnei Israel kol ha'eda midbar Tzin. The Jewish people all came to the desert of Tzin. Now, when is this? This is after 40 years. The Jewish people are just about to enter the land of Israel. So all of the previous generation that sinned with the sin of the spies, right? They refused to go to the land of Israel. So anyone that was 20 years up or older at that time of the sin of the spies, which happened in the second year when the Jewish people were out of Egypt. So all those people, God said, okay, you'll all die in the desert. That's what you want to do. You don't want to go to the land of Israel. You want to die in the desert. So that's what you'll get. So they all died. And now They are all the Jewish people. They're in this place called Midbar, the desert of Tzin. On the first month, month of Nisan, when the Jewish people entered the land of Israel, on the 10th day of Nisan. And the people were in a place called Kadesh. And there died over there Miriam. Now, as far as I remember, they were in Kadesh like 19 years. They wandered around in the desert for 19 years, and they were in Kadesh 19 years, because they wandered around altogether 38 years, right? They received the Torah. Okay. So it says, let's look at Rashi. Let's look at this whole thing, and we'll look at Rashi first, and if we have time, we'll go back and look at the other commentaries. All the whole congregation, Eda Shalema, the whole entire, all the Jewish people. What does it mean, all the Jewish people? Shekavar Metu Midbar. That those people, those Jews that were sentenced to death, to die in the desert, and wandering around for 40 years, they already died. The Elu and these Jews that are here, partial HaChaim. These were like the best. This is the next generation, and they sentenced to death. I'm just giving a class. If you can call me up in 3:45, okay? 3:45. Thank you. And what happened? Miriam died there. Vatamacham Miriam. Lama Nisraha Mrs. Miriam. Why is the death of Miriam put right next to the chapter about the red cow? Huh? One second. Why is it put right next to the red cow? Why? To tell you, Miriam, to tell you, Ma korbanos, just like the sacrifices, mechaprim, and they bring forgiveness to the Jewish people. Paraduma, other places is the paraduma, where it's just like this, it brings forgiveness for the Jewish people. Af mista tzadikim, also the death of tzadikim, this brings forgiveness and purity to the Jewish people. Very strange. Tzadikim, when they pass away, so this purifies the Jewish people, which sometimes that explains. One explanation is very simple. True tzadikim, really that are tzadikim, they really shouldn't die at all. They shouldn't die at all. Like we said, death is an extra thing, and it says that the only thing that kills is sin. There's the famous story with Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, that he put his foot over this hole where there was some sort of a terrible serpent or something, Arvad, that used to come out and bite people and kill them. And he went and put his foot over it, and it came and bit him. And instead of him dying, this thing died. So it says, woe to the, from this you learn that nothing kills a person except for sin. No, if nothing kills a person except for sin, what about these big tzaddikim? Why do they die? So it says a lot of times they die in order to mitigate the bad things of the Jewish people. It brings forgiveness for the Jewish people. Mesus tzaddikim mechaperet. It brings forgiveness for the Jewish people. Anyway, Miriam passed away, and we're going to see that because she passed away, it just caused more sin. We'll see. Atamacham Miriam, that Miriam died over there. Afi ben shikat mita. Says she died over there. Miriam died. She was buried. We're going to see that Aaron is also going to die over here. She says she died what's called the death of kissing. What type of a death? What's this talking about? So it says that there's different ways that the soul leaves the body, and the most painless, because we're in the body, you get used to it, right? So you get used to it no matter who you are. So for the soul to leave the body, it's a very traumatic experience for the soul. So it says, well, big tzaddikim, says they die, it's like God kisses them. That's it. And the soul goes out of the body. So it says also she died the same. We're going to see that Aaron also died this way. What this is a death of Neshiki. It's just like God sort of drew out the soul, like it says it's like taking a hair out of if it falls into your soup or something, just taking it out. There's no So she also died from the death of kissing of God. So why doesn't it say that? It says Mipenei ma lo ne'amar bo al pi Hashem, because that's what it says, that she died al pi Hashem, from the mouth of God. That's what it says by Aaron. Why she'enu derech kavod shel Maila? It's not a nice thing to say that God kissed her. But by Aaron, it does say al pi Hashem in Elo Maseh, which it said the Maseh ben Israel. We're going to get to that. All right, what happens next? Like I said, God willing, if we have time, we'll go back to this. Okay, she died. Miriam died. Well, that's bad enough. It says, "V'lo yamayim le'eda." There was no water for the people. What's that got to do with it? What? So she died and there was no water. This must be something else, right? There's nothing to do with it. Two terrible things happened. She died, and also it happened to be that also there was no water. Well, like it says, trouble comes in pairs. Vayikalu and Moshe, they all came to Moses and to Aaron. Well, the fact is, it was not just by chance that she died and then afterwards the water stopped. It says, Mikan, from here we learn that all 40 years the Jews were in the desert, that they had this well, this water, it was like a big rock that followed them where they went, and it also, by the way, irrigated the whole entire desert. Wherever they were, it made the desert a fertile place. That the whole time that they were there, the 40 years they were in the desert, the water was only in the Zchut Miriam, in the merit of Miriam. And as soon as Miriam passed away, so that's why the water stopped. Vayerav Amo Moshe, and the Jewish people argued with Moshe. We'll see, there's a couple of different explanations over here, that they argued with Moshe. One says that they prayed to Moshe, they asked Moshe to pray, and okay, well, maybe we'll look at a couple of explanations. Anyway, the Jewish people, they came and complained to Moses. They said, Lu gavanu b'gava achenu lifnei Hashem. It is only if we died like our other brothers died, right? The ones that died in the 40 years, it should only be that we died like them. Lu gavano, says Rashi, halavai, it should only be that we're dead. We're dying of thirst, the worst death, if we would just die quietly. We should have only died like our brothers in the desert. Lama, we learned that misat sama be minuga mimeno. We learn this, that it's better to die of whatever natural causes than to die of thirst. Thirst is a terrible way to die. Begava shem davar, in the death, like it says, b'mitat achinu. If we should only die in the death of our brothers, that we should die, that we should be killed like our brothers were killed. It would have been a different punctuation. Okay, so they're coming to Moses and saying, Moses, we're dying of thirst, worst type of death. What did we do wrong? Why should God torture us this way? At least let us die a natural death, like our brothers did. The HaChaim says, Vayira va'am pirush nitramu alav, that they came and they yelled at Moshe, that Moses should pray for them, that they shouldn't die in the desert. That's what he says. The Sofranu says is, what was it? Moshe, I'm sorry, they come, give me a second. There. HaChaim says, Nitramu alav shit palel aleim. That's right. We said that they asked Moses to pray for them. The Sofranu says that they were complaining twice. They complained at Moses, first of all, why did you bring us to this desert? And they also complained against God when they said, Bnei Israel against Hashem, when they said, why did you take us out of Egypt? So we're going to see, here it goes. Why did you bring this congregation of God into this desert just to die, us and our cattle? And our cattle Here it says we're going to. Why did you take us to Egypt, from Egypt, and brought us to this terrible place? You said you were going to bring us to the land of Israel. Come on. This is not a place of, you can't plant anything over here. There's no great fig trees or was it the grapes or pomegranates? We don't even have any water here to drink, right? This is what type of a. Moshe and Aaron came in front of the congregation in the entrance of the tabernacle, and they fell on their faces. And the glory of God came. What did they fall on their faces for? It says that they fell on their faces, they prayed. Lik Palel says they have an Ezra, they prayed. Some people say that they were asking God for advice with prophecy. God, give us some sort of an inspiration to tell what the people, I mean, they've got a good point. You haven't got, here we have 3 million people. Who knows how many people there are? And there's nothing to drink for anybody. There is over here, there is a, what is it? A kli yakar, that he says that the reason the water stopped was because they didn't eulogize. Here, it says, kli yakar says, why did the water stop when Miriam died? Because it was a punishment. They didn't eulogize her as properly. By Moshe and Aaron, it says that they did, and here that they didn't. That's the Kli Yakar says. Rabbi Lunchitz. That's the Kli Yakar. All right, here we go. We're in a bad situation. What's going to be? By Yadaber Hashem and Moshe, and God spoke to Moses, and he said, Kach et hamata. Here it goes. This is the famous Moses striking the rock. Take your staff. Hakel et ha'ida, and gather everyone together. Atav Aaron, you and Aaron, your brother, and speak to this rock. In front. Now Moses was supposed to speak to the rock, right? 9 a.m. Okay, but why did God tell Moses to take the staff? That's a little bit misleading. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So take your staff, gather everyone together, you and your brother, and both of you, Dibartem, you should both speak to the rock in front of them. And this rock, the same rock that was giving water, right? And it'll give water. You'll take out water from the rock, and you can water the people, give everybody walk, give everyone to eat the drink, Biram, and also their animals. This is animals all the time talking about the animals. What's such a big thing? Says Rashi, the animals were important. From here we know that God is very careful about Jewish possessions. God cares about Jewish possessions. Here we know that it is true also, not just the Jewish people, but also their possessions. Here we have a tremendously long Ramban. All right. What's going to be now? Beautiful explanations we have over here, but we can't. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll go back. Vayikach Moshe. Moshe took his staff in front of God, like God commanded him to, and he gathered the people in front of this rock, which had been giving them water all the time. Vayomer lahem, and he said to them, Shimon Amorim, listen to me, you rebellious people. Hamina Sela, from this rock, am I going to bring out water? Water? Moses lifted up his hand and he hit the rock with his staff twice. And there came out water and everyone drank and their animals. Nice story, right? Happy ending? Not exactly. Hayomer Hashem Moshe vel Aaron Yan lo emanta, because you didn't believe me, and you were supposed to sanctify my name in front of everybody. I told you to talk to the rock. What did you hit it for? Therefore, you're not going to take this congregation into the land that I promised you. These are the waters of contention that the Jewish people argued against God, the Yekadish Baum, and they became sanctified. What does it mean became sanctified? Rashi says they became sanctified because Moses and Aaron, they became holy. They died because of it. All right, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back just a little bit. Here we go. Ready? Excuse me. So here we go. God says, right, take this and talk to the rock. Take your stick, talk to the rock. Take your stick, gather the Jewish people, you and Aaron, speak to the rock in front of them. So what does Moses do? He takes his staff. He took the staff like God told him and like God commanded him, right? Did what he was supposed to do. And he gathered all the Jewish people together and he said, listen, you rebellers, can I bring from this rock water? Rashi. He gathered the Jewish people together. This is one of the places where where a small place held everybody. Moses gathered everyone together and all the Jewish people were all gathered in front of this rock. How many people? There were 3 million people in front of the rock. The rock wasn't on some sort of a mountain. It was on nevertheless, a small place gathered a lot of people together, the whole Jewish people. And he said, do you think that from this rock I will bring water? Because they did not. What happened? Moses suddenly didn't know which rock it was. Because the rock moved and it somehow or other found exactly identical rocks to it. As soon as the well stopped, so this rock moved and found other rocks, and it sat among these other rocks. And the Jewish people were saying to Moses and Aaron, which rock are you going to bring water from? Therefore, Moses called them the rebellious ones. What does it mean? Lashon Yavani. This is a Greek language, which means shotim. Sarvanim, it means you people that are making trouble. You're refusing to believe in God. But in Greek, this word morim means fools. Morim et moram. Hamina sela zeh shalonit stavu alav notzi lechamayim. Yeah, this water. That's what Moses said. You think that from a rock that I wasn't commanded to, I can bring water from, right? Of course, I can't bring water from a rock that I wasn't commanded to bring water from. It's going to come from the rock that I was commanded to do. Evan Ezra says, Amina Sel, he explains it a little bit differently. He says, Yesh lanu, we have the power to bring water from a rock. Watch this. Moses lifted up his hand and he hit the rock with his staff twice. And there came out a lot of water and everybody drank. That was pretty successful. Says it was not successful. Why did he hit it twice? Lefi Shebrishona, he hit it, and it didn't bring out water, only little drops. No, so they waited a little while, and everybody's saying, Moses, this is it. I mean, this is the best you can do. Lefi Shalot Siva Makom Lahakoso, because God, why only did it bring? Because God never commanded Moses to hit the rock. He commanded Moses to speak to the rock. And they did. They spoke to one rock, but they spoke to the wrong one, and it didn't bring out anything. They said, maybe we're making a mistake. Maybe God said to speak to it, and we are speaking to it, but it's a desperate situation. All these Jewish people, they're all really thirsty, and there's no water. Maybe we have to take desperate action. Let's hit it like we did in the first time. Maybe we misunderstood. Like it says, like it says, to hit the tzur. Now here we have a sela, and there we have a tzur. V'nizdamen lahem oto sela. And what happened? That rock came, the one that we're supposed to speak to, right? and they spoke to all the others, and it worked. I'm sorry, they spoke to all the others, and I'm sorry, it didn't work. Nothing came out because that wasn't the rocks they were supposed to speak to. So they said, okay, so maybe we'll hit it. As soon as they decided to hit it, all of a sudden, whoop, this rock appeared in front of them, and they hit the rock, and water came out. And God said, you should have. Okay, why in the world did God do a thing like this? Number one, and what's number two? What's so bad about hitting the rock? Come on, that's such a bad miracle. Hitting the rock, right? All the Jewish people say, you didn't talk to it. You're not so good. God isn't so great, right? Because you didn't. If you would have talked to it and he would have brought out water, then we would see that God was great. But now all you did was hit it, and it brought out a rock, and it brought water from a rock for 3 million people. That's not such a miracle. What does that mean? That doesn't make any sense. So Moses hit the rock, and it brought enough water for 3 million people. That's a pretty big miracle. I mean, you don't see a thing like that every day. And the rock was not attached to some sort of a pipe under the ground or something. Just water came from a rock. That's pretty amazing. So what was such a punishment? So it explains in Hasidus that this rock was comparable to the Jewish people. And to bring out water means to bring out the potential from the Jewish people. And there was 2 levels. One was a tzur. That's when the Jewish people came out of Egypt. It was like a tzur. A tzur is like a hard, difficult. But then since the 40 years they were in the desert, they already learned Torah all this time, and they were eating the manna all this time, and they saw a lot of miracles. So they were really more, softer. They were more sophisticated. The Jewish people, sophisticated is not the right word. The Jewish people had become more refined. More refined. They weren't so egotistical. They weren't like fresh from Egypt, and they saw these Egyptians all around them with Egyptian idolatry. This is a whole new generation. So they were like a Sela. So that was like this type of rock. So Moses should have had a little more patience, and he should have used this to speak to them in an easy way. And by hitting them, it showed that maybe he wasn't the right man for the job in the land of Israel. And maybe he wasn't, because when they came into Israel, they would be more refined. So by striking the rock, it showed that he was using the wrong method, the wrong approach to the Jewish people. They had to be dealt with more gently, more, maturely, in a more mature way. Little kids in a school, so you can yell at them, don't do this, etc. You threaten them. A person in university has to be done, right? He's a more, mature. Anyway, so that striking the Sela was not the thing to do. Wasn't supposed to strike the Sela. Nevertheless, it's a big question that's always asked. We have a song in Chabad, Allah Sela, hach, hach, Allah Sela, hach, 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 Allah Sela. On the Sela, you hit until they came out water, right? That's not a good thing. So some people say, well, we're just trying to make the mistake of Moses and rectify it by making a song about it. In any case, Moses did everything that he could, and instead water came out. And let's do the last one we have. So it says, because you did not believe in me, said God, because of it, Gila Katuv, the Torah teaches us, the Lulai Chaytzeh, if it wasn't for this sin, Moses and Aaron would have entered the land of Israel. Kadesh Lo Yomer Olam, so they wouldn't say Ke'avon Shara Dora Midbar Nigzar Olam Shali Kansuloretz. In order so that it should not be said that by Moses dying and Aaron dying in the desert, this sort of indicated that maybe they also partook of the sin of the spies, of the spies. That's why everybody else died, and that's why they died. So that wouldn't be said that they died with the sin of the Meraglim, this whole generation that didn't want to come. So Moses and Aaron should have gone into the land of Israel. So the people wouldn't say that Moses and Aaron, they also partook of this sin of the generation of the spies. So they should have gone into the land of Israel. Halo, Atzon, Babokar, Yishachet, Bahem, etc. Kashim says, 1 second. when Moses said to God, what did the Jewish people complained about the man. They said, we want to eat meat. We want to eat something else. We don't want this man. So Moses said to God, oh, come on, God, what am I going to do? I'm going to slaughter, right, all the sheep and the cows in the world in order to provide for them. He said, oh, that was a worse sin, wasn't it? I mean, he was like complaining to God. The Jewish people said, we want meat. And Moses said, what do you want from me? Leave me alone. I don't want to be the leader of these people. But I'm going to slaughter. They all want meat. I'm going to provide meat for everybody. That seemed to be a worse sin, no? This that Moses complained to God about how the Jewish people were making it hard for him, right? It was different. That was done privately. The Khan, B'mamad Kol Yisrael, but here everybody saw that he struck the rock. Therefore, Lo Chasach Alav Hakov. Therefore, God did not have any mercy on Moses, Mipenei Kiddush Hashem, because it was the idea of Kiddush Hashem. Okay, what did he do wrong? You should have sanctified my name. What was sanctifying his name? She'ilu dibartim, if you would have spoken to the rock, votzi, and it would have brought out water. Then everyone would have recognized my greatness, says God. Only masal just like the stone. She'enu medaber, it doesn't speak. Ve'enu shaman, it can't understand anything. Ve'enu tzorach laparnasa, and it doesn't have to eat anything. Mekayim devorah shel makom, Moses just spoke to it, and it does exactly what Moses said. Kol v'chomranu, how much more so on we, that we can speak and we can understand. And also God is providing for us in the desert. We owe God a lot. So for sure, we should do what Moses says to us, right? When Moses tells us what to do, we should certainly do it. If a rock does it, but Moses didn't speak to the rock, he hit the rock, and that sort of took away this motivation of the Jewish people to listen to what God says, like the rock did. And therefore you're not going to land in the land of Israel. This is an oath. And therefore, therefore God said, I swear, I promise. Nishba b'kafitza shelo yarbe b'tefila alkach. God said to Moses, I'm not going to let you in. Don't pray. You can pray as much as you want to. Up to now, I've listened to your prayers. You've changed my mind. But I'm telling you, this time you can pray as much as you want, but it's only going to be wasting your time. I'm not going to let you in. So don't waste your time. Nevertheless, we see later on that Moses did pray 515 prayers, the Gematria of Eschanan, in order to come into the land, and God did not let him come into the land. When will Moses get into the land? It says that one of the reasons that Moses did not go in is because Moses secretly, he really wanted to stay in the desert in order not to leave the Jewish people that died in the desert, because those were his people. So he was going. So Moses would be the one that would take them in to the land of Israel afterwards. The Rebbe has a beautiful sikh about it, and we'll talk about it, God willing, tomorrow. See you tomorrow morning at 8:15 in the morning. We'll continue the
Shabbat Bolton.
Yes.
How are you?
Baruch Hashem, great.
Baruch Hashem. Tomorrow 8:15, yeah?